stop on it. Revelation chapter 9. And I got to dig a little bit deeper into chapter 9 this week. And it truly is probably the most unbelievable chapter in the book of Revelation. And the reason I say that is we're going to see that there are two different armies. I'm going to say armies, even though the first batch is maybe not called an army. They act like an army, but it's like an army of demonic insects. And they're not real insects, or they're not real locusts, they're something else. And then when we get past that and trying to wrap our heads around what these things can do and what they're going to do, then we run into an army that's not human beings. And there's 200 million of them. And this is where you come to the Bible and it tells you something, and you either believe what it says or you don't. And you can do all the trying to jostle things around and make it something that resembles something in this world. But if you look at the description and what it's saying about it, it's not from this world. Well, it may be from under this world, but it's not from the top. It's not from this side of it. It's from the underside. And you say, well, what's going on underneath there? I don't know what's going on. But there's something going on underneath our feet. And there are literally armies of things that are ready to do God's bidding. So we'll get into that. And of course that brings up some questions too. Why are they on our side? Well, we'll talk about that. So Revelation chapter 9 verse 1, and the fifth angel sounded. Now you know 5, number death. So that's what this is going to relate to. I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there rose a smoke out of the pit as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. So we have the fifth trumpet being sounded, and this is the first of the 3 woes. And there are 2 more after that. We're going to cover one more in chapter 9, and then I think we go into chapter 10 to cover the third one. This star is called a person. It's called a him. So with Revelation 1:20, Scripture with Scripture, I'd say that we're dealing with an angel here, and not an actual star in the heaven, but an angel that has fallen or falls to earth. And it says that he's given a key. Now, who has the keys? That's right. Revelation 1:18. He says, I am he that liveth and was dead, and behold, am alive forevermore. Amen. And have the keys of hell and of death. And we're going to find out that where these things are coming out of is part of hell. The bottomless pit that's mentioned there used to be that, critics of the Bible would say, well, that's just not possible. But it turns out it's not. It's very possible. There's a thing called the asthenosphere, if I can say it right. And it's like a hollow place in the earth. Now, I don't know if it's the same place that this is referring to, but for there to be a bottomless pit, all you have to do is have a hollow place all around the inner side, the inner, like an inner tube, the inner side of the earth. And because the earth rotates, okay, you're falling. If you're in it, you're falling, and there's no bottom to it, but there's sides to it. You're bouncing off the sides of the thing, and that's exactly what your Bible teaches. In Isaiah 14, verse 15, Isaiah 14:15, yet thou shalt be brought down to hell to the sides of the pit. Now that's fulfilled in Revelation chapter 20. Let's go over and read that. Revelation chapter 20, verse 1-3, and I saw an angel come down from heaven having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should not deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that he must be loosed a little season. So there you have Satan bound in this thing. we're going to find out that there's somebody very closely associated with Satan that has been in this thing for about 2,000 years, in this pit. So it runs, this passage runs through the core of the earth like a donut with a revolving, so they're always falling. And I don't know if there's some other place. The Bible talks about in hell he lifted up his eyes being in torments. Didn't say anything about him falling, okay? He said, I'm tormented in this flame. Didn't say anything about him falling. I don't know how they're connected, but they are. And it would be a horrible thing that if you were not only being tormented by flame, but you were falling and bouncing off the sides of something while it's happening. And I'm just not too sure about that. But when he says there, thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit, it kind of insinuates it's included. It's part of hell. Look at Numbers chapter 16. Here we have an Old Testament example of this thing opening up. Numbers chapter 16, look at verse 30. But it says, but if the Lord make a new thing, and the earth open her mouth, and swallow them up, with all that appertain unto them, and they go down quick into the pit, that means alive, then ye shall understand that these men have provoked the Lord. And it came to pass, as he had made into speaking all these words, that the ground clave asunder that was under them. And the earth opened her mouth and swallowed them up. And their houses and all the men that appertain unto Korah and all their goods, they and all that appertain to them went down alive into the pit. And the earth closed upon them, and they perished from among the congregation. Now, I don't know, is it just like a crack that opens up and they fall down and crack closes? Is it a portal? Is it the opening of the fabric of space and just dropping them in and then sinkhole? I don't know. But it closes back up. Verse 2 tells us that there's thick smoke. It says, arose a smoke out of the pit as the smoke of a great furnace. That's the indication that something's coming out of hell with all the smoke in there. Intense heat. Luke 16 kind of proves that point, where he said, I am tormented in this flame. And I gave you a number of the Earth's core, the temperature of 12,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Now that'd be right at the core. I don't know where this thing is, how far down it is. I know it would go all the way around the Earth, because as it rotates, you continue to fall. If it was 200 degrees, it'd be unbearable to me. I can barely handle 70 degrees and humidity. If you could imagine 450, 500 degrees and being in that kind of heat, it would be terrible. And evidently, even if it's just your soul, not your body, although folks have fallen into this thing, body and soul, even if it's still your soul, evidently your soul feels the intensity of heat and flame and fire. Because the rich man, his body's in the grave, but it says in hell he lifted up his eyes being in torment. And he said, I am tormented in this flame. And it's his soul. It's his soul that's being tormented. And the bad news about that is that soul don't burn up. It just keeps right on ticking. Keeps right on going. Then you have the environmental damage that this thing does, according to verse 2. It says, in the air, it says, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. Just one more thing God does to the gods that the people hold on to now, the environment. Everything's about the environment. Kill men, kill babies, save the whale, save the spotted owl. Kill the babies. Kill the babies. We got to kill the babies, but we got to save everything else, Nobody's worried about the environment when these idiots are rioting in the street and burning cars, setting things on fire. Nobody says a word about that. Creating pollution all around the city. You know what the Lord does? He just wrecks this planet. He just wrecks it, man. Because man thinks they're going to achieve something. They say, we're going to clean it up. Well, you hear the talk, the golden age stuff, man. I don't like to hear that. There's no golden age. Now, if we get by without dying in the next, in the next few months, I'm happy with that. But we're not going to have some golden age. They're kidding themselves. And I agree with everything Trump does, just about everything he does. Problem is that what he's doing and what I'm seeing in the Bible, they ain't matching, man. It shall wax worse and worse. It's not going to get better and better. It may seem like it's going to get better, and then all of a sudden it'll take that little turn on a dime, and there we are in the other direction. We'll see. If I'm wrong, I will apologize profusely and thank God. Anyway, verse 3. It says, and there came out of the smoke locust upon the earth, and unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. Well, what kind of power does a scorpion have? Well, he sting you. That's the power he's got. I don't know. I tell you what. I think now a scorpion scares me. There are a lot of creepy crawly things that I'm not. I hate flying things now. The creepy crawly things I'm not too bad about, but a scorpion, that thing. I hear their sting, when they sting you, you feel it. And those fire ants, I hear. I've never been bitten by a fire ant, but I guess they're bad. They're bad in Florida. I don't know, but we don't have them in Ohio, do we? Not in our part of the country. Good thing. Anyway, and it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. Well, we know the ones that have the seal of God in the foreheads are the 144,000. So evidently, everybody else is fair game. I don't know if that includes just those that take the mark or those that haven't taken the mark, but it just mentions those that have not the seal of God in their foreheads. And I don't know if the converts of the 144,000 get the seal of God in their foreheads. I don't know. It doesn't seem to be like that. Anyway, it says that to them was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. So these things will sting you. Well, they're not ordinary locusts. And here are the reasons I gave you last week, or same reasons I'm going to give you this week. Whatever these creatures are, they came out of a furnace of fire and smoke. Ordinary locusts can't survive fire. Yeah, I'll get it out. In fact, they use fire to get rid of them. And smoke. These don't have an aversion to either one. They came out of the fire and the smoke. Ordinary locusts have no king, and these have a king over them. And verse 11 says, and they had a king over them. Okay? But then in Proverbs 30, verse 27, it says, the locusts have no king. Yet go they forth all of them by bands. That's Proverbs 30, verse 27. So we're not talking about locust, the insect. We're talking about something else that's like a locust. And I'm beginning to believe it's more like it's the size of a locust than it is anything else. Because when we get the description here, I mean, locusts are ugly looking things, man. If you ever put them under a magnifying glass, they do look, I don't like them. Like I said, I don't like anything that flies at me. I was attacked by a hive of yellow jackets when I was just a little kid. I had this little set that would, like a woodworking set, and it had a drill bit, and we were trying to fit this drill bit on there. And anyway, it was probably something they shouldn't have been giving kids my age anyway. But the drill bit flew over into this ivy. On the side of our house was this bed of ivy. And we were digging down through there looking for that drill bit and disturbed an entire nest of these things. And me and the kid that was with me, we were screaming and hollering, and we're trying to run from it. And the more the more you move, the more they target you. And I'm finally, I can't get in the back door. I ran around to the front, and the door's locked, and I'm banging on the door. And finally, my mother comes and lets me in. And by that time, I'm traumatized. I slapped one on my neck, got stung on my neck, and I think I got stung one other place. I think my leg, when I hit one on my leg. But she started stripping me down. I had 13 of them in my clothes. They had flown up my pant legs. I mean, they were all over me. Ever since then, man, anything that flies, if God said, if I come back in the millennium, he says, you can kill everything that flies, I'm like, yes. Because I do not like flying things coming at me. Anyway, ordinary locusts eat green things, and these do not. Verse 4, they're commanded not to. Ordinary locusts are not armed with stingers or teeth. And I'm glad. The ordinary ones aren't, or I wouldn't be going outside right now, man. Some of you all have got, it's amazing. We were driving down 42, and all of a sudden it was just deafening. Yet you go to my house, not one single locust. Not one. It's like, huh? Cicada? Oh, they're cicadas? I'm sorry. Yeah, cicada. But yet you go, your house had tons of them, didn't they? They sent me an audio, man. It's like, it was deafening. These things going off, not one. So my house was Beulah land and hers was Egypt. I don't know why they don't come around our place, but I don't think we've had some. We hear some cicadas in August, but not a lot. Anyway. Notice in verse, we'll get down there in just a minute and read it, but in verse 8 it says, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions. And then in verse 10 it says, and there were stings in their tails. Well, I ain't never seen any locusts with stings in their tails. Or teeth, I don't think. Never really pried one's jaws open and took a look at it. But these when we get to the description of them, they look like a demon. And you have an example of this back in Zechariah chapter 5, verse 8 and 9. Zechariah 5, 8 and 9 says, and he said, this is wickedness. And he cast it into the midst of the ephod, and he cast the weight of lead upon the mouth thereof. This is like Dr. Ruckman explained this thing. It looks like a trash can lid. It's like something traveling around in a trash can, or the top of a manhole. Then lifted I up my eyes and looked, and behold, there came out two women. And the wind was in their wings, so they're winged. And they had wings like the wings of a stork. And they lifted up the ephod between the earth and the heaven. So you got two women-like things and with stork-like wings. I mean, that's how the angels are portrayed. And in this, he said, this is wickedness. God portrays that thing as wickedness. So all those little figurines you got, yeah, you got demons, man. Demons in your house. Yeah. I tell people that, and then they look at me like, because I know they got a whole collection. I don't care. Just don't offer me any. I don't care. But they're so sweet looking. They look so, demons. Angels don't have wings. Demons do. And they're women, just like your figurine. Anyway. Now everybody's going to go home and look at their figurine and go, oh, man, he ruined Christmas, he ruined Easter. Now he's ruined my figurines. Okay. Verse 6. Like I said, I don't care. In those days shall men seek death and shall not find it. They shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle. And on their heads were crowns like gold. And their faces were as the faces of men. And they had the hair of women, and their teeth were the teeth of lions. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like this. And they had breastplates as it were breastplates of iron. And the sound of their wings was the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. and they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months. I mean, this is their purpose, is to hurt men for 5 months. This is their purpose. So we have a description here, and I'm not quite sure what to make of it. I almost think when it talks about the shape of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, I don't believe it's big as a horse. I hope not. I think it's as big as a locust, or about that size. But I think it has
The shape, not size.
right shape of a horse. Well, the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle. So how is a horse prepared unto battle? Well, it's got all this armament on it. So these things are like, it could be like the hooded. It could have something over it. It looks like armor. Hard to say. I mean, it doesn't say what the size is, but I'm thinking flying horses. I'm not going to say I see locust, right? But if I see these little tiny things about that big that look like a horse prepared to battle, but it flies like a locust, and the size of a locust. And you know, locusts are a plague. He talks about this in the very end of the chapter being plagues. So it's a plague of these, whatever they are, demonic type creatures. Isn't it interesting that the movies always portray when something is either invading Earth or coming up from the Earth, it's insects. There was a movie called Ender's Game, and I really liked that movie. It wasn't trashy or anything, but it was about conquering this. We got invaded by these things that destroyed a lot of humans, and they were going back to get vengeance on them and wipe them out, which they did in the movie. But the one thing that always disappointed me about movies like that is they always made them like insects, like big ants or something like that, or flying things or whatever. But they always resemble insects. And I realize now where they get that. They're getting it from the Bible, because what's coming up it looks like an insect, and it's coming after you, and it's going to sting you. And it's a variation of everything you could, listen, your worst nightmare, you can't imagine something like this. I don't know, what we need is an artist to just take this description and draw it. But it's going to have a man's face on it. Can you imagine something, and all of a sudden it gets close enough and you're seeing a man's face, like a man's face. That would just freak you out. So, shaped like horses prepared for battle, or shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared for battle. Small, winged, four-legged. Doesn't say this thing can't run you down on the ground either. Who's to say it can't run fast? I don't know. Crowns like gold. And it says everything's like gold, like a horse, a face like a man. I wanted to find out if there were any insects in nature that had crowns, and came up with 3. There's the crowned stick insect that's winged, okay? There's the crowned wasp that has a stinger in its tail. And then there's the spined assassin bug. And the spined assassin bug, and I took a look at it, they're even around here in Ohio, but they have these spikes. And there's kind of like a round row of spikes on the thorax. That'd be like their mid-body. I think that's where the thorax is. And they're like a crown. It's like a crown there. So you got a kind of some instances in nature that, something can have like a crown on it, be an insect. But it says like gold. I don't think it's gold. But then it says hair like women. I'm sorry, faces like men. Hair like women, teeth of lions. The teeth of a lion, they get those big fang teeth, but what is that, an incisor? canine. Yep, 2 canine. I mean, yeah, coming down, and that's for grabbing on. So you don't mess with these things. They'll bite you too, I guess. But you've never seen anything like this. There's no other way to explain it except it's some type of supernatural, demonic type creature. Now, what it is, I can't say positively because I don't know what it is. There's some ideas about it, but then it says it got a breastplates of iron. Is it real iron? Is there real iron on these things? They outfitted with breastplates of iron? This is what it says. Now, I know in the core of the earth, you got all kinds of molten iron. They ain't going to have a problem finding iron toward the core of the earth. And then winged creatures. And not only are they winged, but they're extremely noisy. So maybe they are a little bit bigger. Well, no, locusts. Cicadas, or locusts are pretty noisy too, but they're not like cicadas, I don't think. But you get enough of them, man, it sounds like, a jet engine going somewhere. And you got tails with a stinger in it like a scorpion. That's the description of this thing. And these things are going to be all over the earth. You say, how many? I don't know. Millions of them, I don't know. You have other things mentioned in the Bible that you can't explain except to say that it's some type of supernatural mutation. You have satyrs mentioned in Isaiah 34:14. It says, the wild beast of the desert shall also meet with the wild beast of the island. The satyr shall cry to his fellow. The screech owl also shall rest there and find for herself a place of rest. It's interesting that Isaiah 34 is describing the lake of fire and its inhabitants. If you go read Isaiah 34, you will see an entire description of the lake of fire and the things that are going to dwell there. And you have a satyr. A satyr is a half man, half goat. Upper part of a man, lower part of a goat. Then you have centaurs, which is part horse, part man, that are mentioned. And then you've got something over in Egypt called a sphinx. That's a part man, part lion. I believe in Samuel, I don't know if it's 1 Samuel, probably 2 Samuel, they talks about the mighty men and who they're fighting, and one man fought 2 lion-like men. What does that mean? They got bushy sideburns or something, but 2 lion-like men. There's things going on. Listen, there are things going on all the way back in Genesis 6, and you're like, whoa. Where you got a breed of giants walking around. Somebody's messing with the genetic code of not just the men, but of animals. We're transformed and we're changed into the image of Jesus Christ. And the other side of that thing is being transformed or mutated into an image likened to their Father, who is a 7-headed, fire-breathing, flying dragon. It's funny, these things can fly. A dragon's got that tail with a point on it. These have they can sting you with their tail. There's just a lot of things about it. And remember, a cherubim had the face of a man on it too. All right. So their mission is to target believers who know not God, sting them, torment them for 5 months. Of course, they sting you, death will flee from you. In other words, you'll want to die. You'll want to die so bad, but you won't be able to. That's the craziest thing, that death will flee from you. Now, the question comes up, or at least in my mind, is why are these demonic creatures going after the men that are not sealed of God? Why are they going after the ones that possibly have the mark of the beast? Or they're the unbelievers. They don't believe the Bible. They don't believe that Jesus Christ is the Messiah. It's going after them. But you got to realize something. Mankind is Satan's competition. You do know that, right? You know God has promised mankind that he's going to rule over this? Jesus Christ became a man so that he could rule over this. And we're going to rule over it with him. But all of God's inheritance is going to be given to man. Satan lost out on that, or Lucifer lost out on that, as well as the angelic host when they fell. And God started to recreate it, and this time he made man. He said, I'm going to give it to him. Well, so we're the competition. He's been trying to destroy man all the way through the Bible. He doesn't have a problem killing everybody. As a matter of fact, the more I'm reading through the Revelation, the more I'm thinking that he's trying to genocide the entire human race. Not just God pouring out judgment on them, that's still coming. But the fact that it does seem like that these things are trying to wipe out everybody, and they're demonic. Look at verse 11. It says, and they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. So you're told the Greek name Abaddon, or the Hebrew name Abaddon, the Greek name Apollyon. Well, what's interesting is the Apollyon, which means the destroyer or destruction, whatever you want to say, that's translated in your New Testament in about 4 or 5 different locations as perdition. If you were to go to a Greek Textus Receptus and go to this passage, go to 2 Thessalonians 2:3, you will find the word for that's translated perdition, Apollyon. When it says the son of perdition, it's the son of Apollyon, the son of destruction. That's who's the king over this thing. 2 Thessalonians 2:3, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of Apollyon, the son of perdition. Then in John 17:12, it's translated that way again. While I was with them in the world, I kept them in thy name. Those that thou gavest me I've kept, and none of them is lost but the son of perdition. Well, who was that? It was Judas. He is the son of Apollyon. He is the son of perdition. He is the king over those in that pit, over these things in that pit. He's the king of them. Revelation 17:8, and the beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. I got to thinking about that because it's kind of confusing, but Judas is the son of perdition. And he goes into perdition. So what I surmise is the man of sin, that's the body, that man that was in that body, he dies and he's gone. Body and spirit and soul are gone. Leaves the body. That's the man of sin. Satan is cast out of heaven, goes down and goes into that body. There's your soul. And at that point, the spirit of Judas Iscariot comes out of that pit and goes into perdition. And that spirit is what's needed for that thing to just live. Do you need the Spirit of God to live? If you quit breathing, you give up the ghost, right? So that spirit goes into him, and I think that's last. I think it goes boom, comes down, goes into unholy trinity. At least that's how I think it reads. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. Well, that was Judas. And go into perdition. That's the body that's prepared, and Satan is there also. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. They're not going to be able to figure it out, but it's not the same fellow. Not the same guy. He's dead and gone. But Satan is now using that body, and so is the spirit of Judas Iscariot is using that body. And what rises up is literally Satan incarnate in the flesh. You're given all these hints, and I'll probably finish up with this. You're given all these hints in the Gospels if you just believe what you read. If you just believe what you read. In John 6:70, he said, have I not chosen you 12, and one of you is a devil? You knew that Judas was something else. He wasn't a man. He says one of you is a devil. In John 17:12, which we read, he identifies who Judas is. He says he's the son of perdition. In Matthew 25:41, he tells you that hell is prepared for the devil and his angels. So why would that be surprising if he's the king over it? It's the place prepared for him. In Luke 22:3, Satan enters Judas. Now it's going to be like Judas enters Satan, you know. But notice that they're close compatriots. In Acts 1:25, you're told that Judas fell by transgression and went to his own place. Well, what does that mean? Well, he went to his own place. Well, his place is hell, where he is the king. And his subjects are crowned. Everything is a counterfeit. It's a poor counterfeit, but everything's a counterfeit. All right. I think that's it. If I missed something, I don't think I did. Anybody got any questions, answers, comments, commentary? Right. I think of the two together. I don't know why. Well, they